This book not only gave us background information on some characters, but hints to future story arcs done by Williamson himself. What's up, YouTubers of the world? MegaGeekMixer here to give you guys my review on the Robin Annual of 2021. First off, must apologize that this is late, guys, but that's because I didn't get my comics until just this week. Better yet, yesterday to be exact. Tuesday, or was I Wednesday? Who cares? All I know is I'm here, and I'm here to give you my thoughts on this book. And first off, I must like that I'm glad that Williamson gave us some more background information on each of these characters who are in the tournament, some of the major ones we need to pay attention to, but also it gave us hints to some future story arcs he has planned, because I'm sure you guys have heard how he is taking over the Batman comics, he's doing the Robin comics, and the Deathstroke Inc. comics, and at the end of this book, it gave us a hint to a future story arc he has planned out with crossing over with those three books in particular. And I gotta tell you, when I found that out, I was like, oh, I'm interested now. But now, having said all that, this book was great. I'm glad it gave us information on some of these characters, one of which in particular, Flatline. But to help you guys out, first off, this book takes place before issue number 6 of Robin. In other words, after meeting up with his brother and sisters of the former Robins, he finally made it back to the island. Well, this shows us what happened before the tournament started. And yeah, it basically deals with the fact that Damian finds out something about that gift that Robin gave him. I mean, Nightwing gave him. Basically that Encrim or whatever that thing is. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name off the top of my head of that weapon, but it turns out it also had the Bat computer's AI in there, which he used to his advantage to learn history on a few of the fighters he's meeting up with. As a matter of fact, let me go to that page if I can find it here. Yeah, here it is. See, it gives you information on almost all the competitors in that tournament. But the one I was interested in the most, and the one that Damien was interested in the most, were Flatline, Ravager, and Connor Hawke. But before going into that, they also gave us a little info on some of the other ones. But it was more of a quick biography and not like what it was for Flatline and Ravager, going deeper into their story. Yeah, let me just try to find it here. I'm sorry, guys, but this is a long book, so of course I'm going to be acting like this, but this is how I do things. See, like these two right here, it just gave us a quick biography of them, their backgrounds, and all that other stuff, and that's how it was with some of these other characters. Like, say, this Trench guy, for instance. We learned that he's a combination of Atlantean and Trench put together, so he's a mixed blood experiment that was done by some Atlanteans and stuff. But now, having said all that, the short ones that didn't really seem too important, let's go into, first off, Flatline. Her background, a very interesting one, I must add. So, first off, we learned she was kind of the black sheep of her family, and she comes from Moscow, Russia. And yeah, she's the black sheep of her family. Why? Well, because she was so appeased with death and everything. As it's shown right here in this panel, she just drew a lot of stuff that represent death. And yeah, her sister was like, what is wrong with you? Why are you so weird and stuff? Why can't you be normal? This and that. And I'm just like, fuck. I mean, excuse my language here, but screw that normal crap. I mean, there is no such thing as normal in this world. At least to me, there isn't. Because if there is, what is normal? There's nothing normal around in this world. So screw that crap. And that was just like Flatline. She was like that too. But not only that, she didn't really show as much emotion as her family when they went to visit her grandfather who was dying. But here's the interesting thing that happened, that as her grandfather died, she ended up getting a surge going through her in this picture right here. all of the backgrounds of what her grandfather did. She was able to see it. Then she tries to tell her family about it, but they're like, screw you. My father was a good man. He would never be a murderous person. But that's just because they didn't know, because he didn't tell them. And that's when, as the funeral was going on and he was being buried, the ghost of Flatline's grandfather came and told her exactly about him. It turns out he was an experiment of something called the KBG project. And you guys, if you guys have been reading the comics, you know that KBG thing, right? Yeah, the very person who took out Nightwing, made him lose his memory. So it turns out this was a program that seemed to have been done by a lot of people. Now, is that to say the guy who shot Nightwing was part of that program? Maybe, I don't know. But we do know that after what happened with Flatline's grandfather, he was a mercenary for hire, and he also gained an ability to learn the skills and experience of those who die, which explains how Flatline got that surge of memory going through her when her grandfather died. And it turns out that it was passed on genetically, but it just skipped a generation. It didn't go to Flatline's father, and instead it went to her. This caused her to unlock her meta gene, and once she got it, unfortunately, her family drove her away. But she wasn't affected by it because she never really fit in with them, which is what led her to meeting Deathman. And it's through Deathman that she started to have experience learning how to fight. Like anytime he would die, she would learn more and more experience. This is what led her into the Lazurus Tournament, and that's how she ended up meeting up with Damien. And that's basically her story before how she got to the tournament. I gotta say, that's a pretty interesting story there. Black sheep of a family, you unlock your metagene powers, if that's a metahuman ability she has there. Unfortunately, rejected by your own family, so go off on your own. And yeah, find your way to Gotham. We know that story. That kind of happens with a lot of people. They lose their real family, go to Gotham or go somewhere else. No, nothing new there. But there was some interesting things else we found out in here. He tried to look in on data on Respawn, but there was no data. However, there was data on Ravager right here. It turns out that she's been on the search for her father to find out what's been going on with him, especially since he was starting to be a family's man, but then suddenly decided no, he's going to go back and he's going to work with a group called the True and be a part of the branches for good and stuff. That was already far-fetched enough for Ravager that she went to decide to go look in and find out what his true intentions were. And here's the thing, it also puts in acknowledgement to her relationship with Red Hood. Yeah, if you see right here on these two panels, yeah, you can see her communicating with Red Hood right here. And if any of y'all know the comics, you know that those two have a history, romantic history too. Both history, romantically and not romantically. Either way though, she was contacting him, letting him know of what she's doing. And when she was looking into one of the bases, what she found out here was that one of these bases is actually not her father's, but instead her older brother, Grant Wilson's, and he had died a long time ago. But what she finds out is that it's been hijacked. And funny how it is that Respawn has something similar to a Deathstroke like costume, and you had Grant Wilson, who admired Deathstroke, not knowing that was his father at first. So I think it's pretty obvious who took it there. And then finally, we learn of Connor Hawke. We learn about what happened after the Flashpoint. Because if any of y'all were keeping up with the whole Green Arrow thing ever since the New 52, you know how DC decided to make him younger again, and they never brought Connor Hawke back in until just now, not even during Rebirth. But this book allows us to see what happened in a short panel-to-panel sort of way, flashback sort of way, and showing us that during the whole pre-New 52, the whole thing, his whole journey was still the same. But then Flashpoint happened, and then a flash of light, he lands somewhere where the League of Shadows are, and they heal him back up, and they make him into the tournament. So that's pretty much what this book is about. And yeah, I'm glad they gave us this, but it was the ending that really took me took me for an interest. It's this right here, epilogue. You have Ra's al Ghul being attacked by a bunch of assassins, and it turns out those assassins work for none other than Talia al Ghul. And if you look at the bottom here, it says the story will continue in the Batman, Deathstroke Inc., and Robin comics, and it's all going to lead up to 2022's Shadow War. Yes, when I heard that, I was like, now I'm hooked. Why? Because if this is going to deal with the shadows, I'm always in because I'm a big fan of the shadows. Yeah, when it comes to the DC Universe and the League of Shadows, Assassins, or whatever they call themselves, I'm always interested because they always have some good storytelling. Because what can I say? I'm a fan of the whole ninja sneaking around thing and action because you got a lot of martial arts, a martial arts panel to panels in comics or TV shows with stuff like that that you can't just help but watch. Because what can I say? I just like to see some action. Now, does this mean I'm not all for like detective work and stuff? No, I am. It's just that you get that a mix with action and other stuff. This is why I like DC, Marvel, and all in general. They do these different sort of explorations into how these heroes deal with their adversaries, and that's what I like about it. It brings different sorts of approaches that you can just study on and be like, hey, yeah, that would work in that situation. That would work in that situation. It's all just fun and games right there. But either way, nevertheless, Robin Annual 2021 gave us a lot of good stuff here. Backgrounds on characters, along with the future story arc to look forward to by Williamson. And all I gotta say is, Williamson, all you do is keep it up because you're doing great, and I can't wait to see what this new Shadow War you're gonna have coming for us. But until then, guys, I'm gonna go ahead, leave it all at that. And hey, if you enjoy my videos, all you gotta do is click that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to be notified when I make more videos. And until then, MegaGeekMixer signing out. Bye!